Welcome to episode 25 of Lost in Translation. We've made it a quarter of the way to 100, Bobby. It's a pretty big deal.
A huge number, man. Huge number. 25.
And a big deal today is a Wilmington native son, Tyler Roberts. He's a former football player at Merrimack College. He went to training camp with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's now signed to play in the XFL. So the season will start in February, and the journey from small town public school athlete to professional without any stops at prep or private school is pretty remarkable to me. Tyler, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
So, why football of all the sport? Why football?
To be honest, I can't tell you, but from the first minute I put a helmet on, it's always been football. You know, I played everything growing up. I played hockey, played lacrosse in high school. I was a pretty good lacrosse player too. I played baseball. I played everything, but it was always football. Even like when I'm in lacrosse season in high school, I'm going to 7-on-7 tournaments on the weekend. You could count on one hand the amount of times I went and played wall ball. It was all football. It's always been all football for me.
What would you say about the journey, which is nowhere near over? It's still in its infancy, but just to make it from a town like Wilmington, no disrespect, I love the town. It's kind of adopted me since I've come here, but it's a small town. The high school was, I'm sure, a little bigger when you were there, but still not exactly like a big high school. 99.9% of kids across the nation that play football, they don't play Division I, let alone play pro. But in Wilmington, it's got to be an even smaller number. How does that happen? What do you say about the journey?
Yeah, like I was saying before we kind of hopped on, it's something I take a lot of pride in. I think I looked it up. It's been 48 years before me was the last player from Wilmington to play in the NFL. So
who was this?
I think last name Esposito. Played running back, went to BC, ended up jumped around a couple of teams in the league. I think he actually made a roster versus obviously we're sitting here in December, so obviously I'm not currently on a roster. But that it's something I take pride in, and that's why whenever I get an opportunity to, whether it's through Coach Turner or through the AD, I come back and talk to these kids because it's like when I was coming up, no one around Wilmington really thought it was possible. It's all I wrote about, every article, every writing assignment we had in high school. It's all I wrote about was playing in the NFL, and no one around it really thought it was possible because they hadn't seen it done before. So now that I can kind of be that face that comes back and talks to these kids, and they realize, all right, it's maybe a little bit more possible than some people might think. And I think the only difference between me and some of the guys that I've played with, whether it be at Wilmington or in college, was that I never gave up. I always believed truly in my heart of hearts that I could play in the NFL, and I still believe that I can play in the NFL. That's why I'm playing in the XFL, obviously. Otherwise, I could make more money being a physical therapist or something like that. But I truly believe, like I always have in my heart of hearts, that I can play in the NFL. So that's as long as I'm breathing, that's what I'm doing.
So, again, how was the journey? I mean, so now it's XFL.
Yep.
So I guess the most important question is, have you met The Rock yet?
I have.
Oh.
Yeah, I was down at the XFL Combine in July.
Okay.
So Chiefs let me walk in May, and then there was a little period there where I'm like hoping for a call. They could call me back for training camp or OTAs or something like that. But eventually ended up just getting my agent got me the XFL Combine invite. Actually, through the Renegades are the ones that requested for the league to invite me. Went down there, ran pretty well in the 40. Tested all right. I think I ran 4.69 at the XFL Combine at around 242 pounds. So
linebacker,
tight end.
Tight end. Okay.
Yeah, right around 6'3", tight end H-back. So yeah.
Was there ever a point where you thought about going to a prep or going to a private? I'm sure once you establish yourself as a player at Wilmington High, they have kids get poached all the time. I know it's always a worry at that level. Right now there's a couple of great players from Wilmington that you always hear oh, this kid's playing at this school or this school if he was here. Like, was that ever on your mind? Did it ever almost happen?
Definitely, yeah. And I think really the only reason I stayed was Coach Turner at the high school. He came in end of my junior year, and I was lucky, or the school had me sit in the interview with him, and it was just like right away I could tell he was a guy that I'd like to play for. So I do it right now. I'm an offensive coordinator at a prep school, so I had the BB&Ns and those kind of schools were calling me all summer my junior year. And I heard some of them out, but at the end of the day, I was like, all right, I want to finish this off with the guys I've been playing with my entire life. And, I was already getting some interest. I went into my senior year with just one offer from a Division II, Stonehill College. But I was already getting some interest from some of the Ivies and, some of the Patriot Leagues. And Merrimack was on me at that point already, so some of the NEC schools. And so I knew I could make it from Wilmington, and I knew if I could, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to finish it out with the guys that I played with my entire life through Pop Warner.
It's an amazing accomplishment because, in basketball, you see such an exodus of kids going to leaving their public schools and going to prep schools that, now the public schools are vacant, right? From the really, they have no more talented kids.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm 39, and I think I was right at the end. 2002 was my senior year, and I had some preps that were talking to me, but it was like I was like, I don't want to do a fifth year high school. Like I don't do that. Because they were talking about for like a PG year, but now it's like everybody they leave, they reclassify. Like I look at Ringe. And, like, Ringe used to always have, like, star basketball players. They'd be there for 4 years, and a couple of them would go play Division I. And now it's like, nah, they're out after. Like, if you get too big too soon, high school players at a public, they're gone. So that's one of the remarkable things to me is you staying at Wilmington High for 4 years and then making it to a Division I, let alone making it to a pro contract is crazy.
And I probably shouldn't be saying this, as a prep school coach myself. At least I started this past year, when I found out I wasn't going to be playing in the fall. I'd already been drafted by the Renegades in the XFL. I took the opportunity to coach at a prep school. Probably shouldn't be saying this, but I will. It's not like the Friday Night Lights. Playing on Saturdays in front of, schools that only have 300 students, it's not the same, the game day atmosphere that you get versus what you get at these public schools in the MIAA. Playing the Friday Night Lights in front of your home crowds. I think there's something a little special about that we maybe miss in the public school specter. But it's something that I can't fault these kids at the same time for wanting to go prep because you'd be lying if you said they don't get more opportunities out of those schools right now.
Now we're heading towards Christmas, but it still feels like it was just Thanksgiving and Wilmington High. They were so close to pulling off their first win in 14 years over Tewksbury, and so that means that you're a Division I player, a pro, and you didn't get a win over Tewksbury all 4 years. What do you remember the most now about your time in high school, about your time playing for Wilmington High? What are the memories that stick out to you now that you've played Division I, you're heading into pro ball? Like, what do you still remember about the high school experience?
Yeah, I've said this to some of my buddies that I played high school with is, right, I've been in training camp with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I've been coached by Andy Reid, and the number one thing I regret more than anything is we lost to Marblehead in the playoffs in high school. I'll never forget that. I was crying on the bus ride home like a baby. So, those are really, truly memories that stick with you for the rest of your life, regardless of how much you play. I started 40-something games in college. I was a 2-year captain. Honorable mention All-American, first-team All-Conference. But the thing that sticks with me the most is, we lost to Marblehead my senior year of high school.
Those are the ones you always remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that and we lost the conference championship in college, but those both sting.
So why Merrimack? How did that come about? And I mean, it's kind of cool that it's the closest. I think it's closer than UMass Lowell, even out of the Division I's to Wilmington. So that's kind of cool. Maybe for some people, it's like I wanted to get a little further away from home. But like, why? What was it about Merrimack that's where you wound up?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I didn't have my pick of the litter. I wasn't a guy that came out with 30 offers. I had two scholarship offers, an IV in the mix, and then a couple of walk-on opportunities. So it's not like I was picking a school out of a hat. I could name off one hand the amount of Division I schools that gave me an opportunity. But for me, it was really I took a game day visit there, which at the time I didn't know it was their homecoming game and first game in their new stadium. So find out, not every game is quite like that game day visit I had there, but they truly do have the best crowd in that league. And, I think there was something like 10,000 at my game day visit. And I was there after being at, maybe I was at UNH or Stonehill the week before, and I was like, this place is awesome. You know what I mean? So that was one thing that sold it. And then the other one is the overnight. They get you a recruiting host, and I think they gave me, the kid who probably brought more recruits to Merrimack than anybody in Merrimack history. It felt like the kid had a recruit every weekend. But between those two visits is really what sold me there. And then Coach Curran is just, I would still, I'd go stand on the sidelines for some of their games that I can make it to now. I'd still run through a wall for that guy. So
that's awesome. So the coach was instrumental in everything you were doing.
Yeah, he's a guy that played 8 years of fullback in the NFL, and he's still he'll be in the weight room before practice, just incline benching 350 pounds, veins in his neck popping. So he gives you a pregame speech. I would run through a brick wall for that guy.
It sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is just to me. Your senior year high school coach, Coach Turner, and what you said about him, college coach, that you were, fortunate in some of the coaches you had. I wasn't fortunate in high school or college to have coaches that I felt like were really people that I looked up to or any of that sort of stuff. And, just what would you say about the importance of those coaches at that part of your career, played in your development as a player and as a person?
Yeah. I credit – I was not the same person leaving Merrimack that I was coming in. I was obviously a way better football player because of the amount of games I played there. But the person I am is really what's going to, I think, help make me successful in life. Just having that ability to deal with adversity and having the ability to create friendships and, teamwork, all that sort of, cliche stuff that colleges will sell you on. It's true. It's so true. I was not the same person leaving that I was coming in. We use the saying, leave it better than you found it. And, I think the most streamlined way that you can, translate that phrase is, I leave the weight room cleaner than it was when I got there, or the classroom cleaner than it was when I got there. But that place really left me better than it found me. I was a better person in all aspects of life. I was a better brother, better son, better student, better employee when I left than I was when I got in.
So did you have those? Well, hopefully you had a couple of them, but have you ever had the moments where the coach challenged you personally?
Oh, yeah.
To become better?
So I think in college, at least, the most challenging part of that was my freshman year of college. I was, fortunate enough I started all 10 games as a freshman. As a linebacker, I finished with something around 60 tackles and was named all-conference as a freshman at linebacker.
Wow.
And then it's winter of going into my sophomore year. We're in winter workouts. The head coach pulls me aside after a workout. He's like, hey, I'm thinking we're going to move you to offense. You're going to start playing tight end. And at first, I'm like, all right, sweet. Jabril Peppers is playing at Michigan right now. I'm like, I'm just going to be playing both sides. It's going to be awesome. And then I realized pretty quick as we go into spring ball, my defensive days are over. And tight end is something that, I played very limited snaps of as a senior in high school. I was mostly playing X receiver, or I played some of your move tight end stuff, or even a tailback. But it's something that I'm was not very super accustomed to, and he moved me after coming off an all-conference season as a freshman. So, I didn't really understand where he's coming from, and then I finished my sophomore year starting every game at tight end with something like 6 catches. So I'm like, why did they move me just to not get me the ball? I feel like I'm making way more of an impact on the other side of the ball than I am finishing my sophomore year, started every game finishing with 6 catches. It's I didn't really see the vision, but then, the more I trusted and believed in him, and he challenged me, like you were saying, it just, I finished my junior year of college, I had 54 catches in the season.
What was it that he was challenging you on? What did he say?
It's just more of to have a belief in him, to know that the coaches truly have your best interest in mind, or the best interest of the team in mind. They would never, intentionally steer you in the wrong direction. At least a good coach wouldn't. And Coach Curran at Merrimack is most certainly a good coach. So, just to believe in him and trust, the process of it, to go from whatever I had, 5 catches, 6 catches my sophomore year, to having nearly 60 in 11 games my junior year is like it really like just believing in him and buying into that process is the only way that I got to that point.
What would you say about growing up in Wilmington? Not to, we kind of bounce around a little bit here, and I still find it fascinating. And I've worked here now for more than a year, and I've gotten to know the people in the community, and they've been great to me. They've been great to my wife during she's battled breast cancer the past year, and luckily things are really, she's cancer free right now. And but growing up, I'm from the city. My high school was almost 3,000 kids when I enrolled there. I'm out here, and it's like, it's so quiet, and I asked the high school kids, like, what do you guys do? Like, be honest with me. Like, off the record, like, what do you guys do here? And they're like, hang out in the McDonald's parking lot? Like, I don't know. What was it like growing up in Wilmington and living in Wilmington?
Yeah, I mean, it's all I've ever known. I was born and lived my entire life so far in Wilmington. So I think, obviously, you get a pretty tight-knit group of friends that way. I kind of know everyone that I went to, at least graduated high school with. I wish that maybe the town was a little more athletics-driven, but I think they're getting back to that with Coach Turner, and then obviously Ingram being recently hired as the AD. I think he's doing a great job so far. And then, there's not another high school in the state with, something like this going on at WCTV. So, it's something that I even told when I went and talked to the Pop Warner kids. I was like, something I take pride in, right? You want to be able to tell kids, like, you're from Wilmington, and they go, oh, that's a good sports town, that's a good football town. Whereas, you kind of want to have that, like that name recognition tied to it. But maybe that's something that we don't have a ton of right now. So I'm excited for them to kind of get back to that winning tradition.
Are there from not making the NFL immediately? All right, because we got time.
Yeah.
From not making immediately, what were those self-doubt questions that you actually have at night? Do you still have them?
You see, I think actually my time in the NFL more than anything eliminated some of that self-doubt. I think I left there realizing, all right, I truly can play in this league. Like, I'm next to, I was playing with guys like Rashee Rice, who right now is, kind of lighting it up on Sunday. Or, even there's like mostly rookies while I was there, but there are fourth-year guys that are still considered rookies because they haven't played in enough games yet, or whatever it may be. But I think, I think great athletes are greedy athletes. So by that I mean not greed as in like money or anything like that. Greed as in you give a great athlete a small opportunity, he takes as big a piece of it as possible. So at the end of the day, I was given a small opportunity, and it's on me. I got to do more with that opportunity. So if I get another, I'm going to do more with that opportunity, because to be a great athlete, you have to be greedy. I think I played pretty well while I was there, but at the end of the day, obviously there's more I can do to give them a reason to keep me and to be greedy.
What adversity do you? What are the moments in your career that were kind of, you feel like they were the obstacles that you faced so far? It's pretty young in your career, but I think you had an injury, and so can you talk about adversity that you faced? Every
day of the last year and a half. So June of 2022, I'm going into my senior year. I coming off a great year, like I said, all New England, first team all conference, all that stuff. Bunch of NFL teams sending scouts in to see me. June of my going into my senior year, tore a hamstring in my left leg at a summer workout. We're running 40s or running 10s, 20s, whatever it was. Third step off the line, boom. It felt like I got shot. Someone was up in the tree line. Tore my semitendinosus, which is a hamstring in your left leg. Rehabbing that, obviously, it happening in June gives you some time where I was cleared probably, a week before our first game. We were playing Holy Cross. So I get cleared. I'm full go probably a week before our first game. I miss all of training camp. Like I said, there's probably 20 teams that came in throughout that training camp, and I'm got to explain to all of them, why I'm not practicing. Like coming off a year I had, why I'm not practicing in this training camp. But I get healthy, go into Holy Cross, play pretty well that week, play pretty well against Harvard the week after that. We're going into week 4 against Delaware State. We're up at least 2 scores, maybe 3 in the fourth quarter, and I just take a hit to the outside of my knee, and I tore my MCL on my left knee. So then I'm out 6 weeks after that, come back for the last 2 games of the year. But, I mean, I was no threat at all in the receiving game. I just come off of a completely torn MCL in 6 weeks. I'm wearing a knee brace on my left knee. Like, I'd be lying if I told you I was the same player in those last 2 or 3 games of the year than I was in 2021. So, obviously that's in itself is a ton of adversity I had to go through, and then you got to try to convince an NFL team after that to take a shot on a guy based off of what he did in 2021, because the 2022 season is essentially a wash. I played in reality 0 games healthy, because the first 3 weeks I'm still getting off a completely torn hamstring. After that, I completely tear my MCL. So, like I said, almost a complete wash in 2022, and you got to convince. It's up to my agent and I to convince teams to take me off of what they saw me do in 2021, which making the NFL in itself is obviously an uphill battle. So that didn't help. But I had a great PT system, whether it be at Merrimack, where I was going to Athletic Evolution, which is also right here in Wilmington, for my physical therapy stuff. End up getting pretty healthy by the time pro days come around, and I ran pretty well at those pro days. My shuttle time was 4.20, which would have been number 1 for tight ends at the NFL Combine that year. And then obviously by the time that mini camps and stuff came around, I got to get that brace off my knee and started kind of feeling like myself again. But the problem with the NFL is, part of it's a numbers game. So kind of, if you get in behind the 8 ball, you got to give them a reason to put you in front of it. And I just obviously at the end of the day, it's on me I got to do more there to give them a reason to keep me. But obviously the goal this next time around is to get in the league a little higher up the depth chart. So then maybe it's a little easier to make those rosters.
So tell me about the process. So when you're in camp, you're playing tight end, of course, right? So, are you looking for a great block? Are you looking to, what do you do to actually stand out? Because I can't imagine that you're going to get a lot of opportunities with so many people there.
Yeah. I wish that these mini camp stuffs, obviously the veterans in the NFL would disagree, but the mini camps and the OTAs, you don't have pads on for all of them. So the blocking game is very limited, and that's part of what I do so well is like your classic split zone blocks or blocking linebackers in space, stuff like that is a huge part of my game that, you're not really showcasing maybe when you don't have pads on. So that's part of your game that's kind of getting taken out that you could potentially be showing the scouts or the coaches during those practices. You got to do what you can in the receiving game, show them like great fits in the run game, and then you got to push the envelope a little bit. You got to, like, guys on the defense are going to hate you. Like you have to if those guys hate you, you're doing something right. So whether it's pancaking a DB on a screen or something like that, even though you have no shoulder pads on, he might be pissed at me, but you got to do what you got to do to get ahead of the 8 ball there.
So, can you tell me about when it didn't, your first training camp invite, when it doesn't work out, but you told me you got some good feedback. What was the feedback you got, and how do you handle that setback?
Yeah, so I think a lot of guys, they just get a pat on the ass on the way out. It's just have a good life.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You gave us our draft picks, some dummies to work off of, like, have a good life. But like I said, mentioned the guy, Chris Shea is actually a local guy from Belmont, is their VP of player ops. He pulled me aside after camp, and he's like, hey, you're playing really well. We're just not sure if, like, you would take that fullback spot for us. We're just not sure if we're going to keep one this year. And they ended up, it's the first year in Andy Reid's tenure that they don't have a fullback on the roster. So, it is what it is. But he pulled me aside, and, at least he told me, like, you played really well. Stay ready. We could bring you in for a workout whenever. So, after they let me walk, I'm still, training like I'm going to be in camp with them because, if your opportunity does come like that and they invite you to, training camp where the whole team gets there in the fall and you're not ready, that's on you. And that's something that I would have to live with for the rest of my life is, right, I got my second shot and I wasn't ready for it. So I wasn't going to let that happen. And luckily, there's a pretty good group of local guys that are kind of in a similar situation as me that we're meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to train together. So you know, that makes it easier when there's some guys going through a similar thing as you. So it was really a situation where it was like, all right, your number can be called whenever, and it's on you to stay ready. So, you know, that's kind of what I've been doing up till this point.
And so you're training at Athletic Evolution?
Right now, I actually I lift in my garage. So I have a degree in strength and conditioning or rehab science. And when COVID hit, my mom was nice enough to move her car out of the garage, so I got
gotta love moms.
like $10,000 of gym equipment in there right now. It's insane, and I just lift down there every morning, and then I'll meet a group. E.J. Perry, the quarterback from Andover, he actually had a Patriots workout today. But Connor Degenhart, he's the quarterback with the Renegades. You know, there's a couple of receivers. Michael DeReyes played with the Ravens. Sean Coyne was at the Chiefs with me, and we'll meet at a local high school at 10 a.m. 3 times a week,
Nice.
and it's a pretty good group we got going there. So,
Do you guys ever meet up at Wilmington High at your old stomping grounds?
we try to pick somewhere local because everyone's coming from all around. And I was having trouble to be working out of Wilmington High with the gym classes a little earlier in the year, so I stopped going there. But we meet at Woburn High School mostly. But
So did you say that you're the quarterback for the Renegades is one of them? So your quarterback is also working out with you this offseason?
yeah,
What's that like?
so their starter Drew Plitt actually is with the Bengals right now because obviously they're going through some injury stuff. He's one of the backup quarterbacks with the Bengals. Connor was a guy who played at University of Holy Cross and then the University of New Haven, and then I didn't know him at all through that. He played at Westford Academy. I didn't know him at all through that, and then we both played in the FBS Tropical Bowl as our all-star game after college. We both ended up combine training at the same place. We both ended up with the Chiefs together, and then we both got drafted by the Renegades. So it's kind of like an insane sort of thing that's happened that, like, I didn't know him at all throughout high school or college. Didn't play him in college because he left Holy Cross. I played Holy Cross 3 times, but he left the year before we started playing them. So didn't know him at all through high school and college, and now every single game or team I've been with after college, he's been on the roster.
Sounds like he's stalking you.
Yeah, a little weird. We're gonna probably live together down in Texas too.
So, what are your thoughts on that? I think what should people know about the XFL? I know this is a new incarnate. People like me remember it from when I was in high school and He Hate Me jersey. You know, they could have whatever they wanted on the back of their jersey and stuff. But it's a new incarnate. Like, what should people know about the XFL that don't know anything about it?
I mean, it's really just the talent in those leagues is something that a lot of people really don't realize, like how deep the talent pool is. Like, you look at the kicker for the Cowboys this year is 30 for 30, hasn't missed a kick all year. Just hit one 2 nights ago, hit one from 60, one from 59 in the same game. First time ever done. He was in the USFL last year. You know, Kevontae Turpin, their return specialist, was in the USFL last year. P.J. Walker, who's actually has the same agent as I do, was in the XFL 2 years ago and now is starting games for, you know, different NFL franchises. And, I mean, there's way too many guys to even list, like between O-lineman, D-lineman, that people wouldn't even know. Even, like, my punter for the Arlington Renegades is Marquette King. And I think everybody knows who Marquette King is. But
I do not.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
He was, you know, just kind of a famous punter for, you know, he kind of brought a little swag to the position in the NFL, and you know, he would celebrate after all his punts and stuff like that. But you know, there were big names in that league. Tavon Austin, who, I mean, I think I watched his high school highlight tape or college highlight tape at West Virginia 100 times when I was in high school. But the talent pool in the XFL is a lot deeper than people realize. Just because, you know, the NFL doesn't have a named minor league like some of these, you know, NHL and MLB teams and NBA teams do. People don't realize, you know, how deep the talent pool is.
So, you know, I think one of the things that athletes, certainly in my case, and a lot of people, it's like what keeps you up at night is when you know that you didn't give it everything you had. There was something left in the tank, or, you know, things that you could have done better or differently. You don't strike me as someone that has those, is going to have those regrets. It seems like you've really, you know, looking at bounce back from injury, that you've really given it everything you had, and you've kind of worn Wilmington on your sleeve doing it. Like, what are your goals over the next 5 years, and how long do you think you pursue the NFL dream? I mean, guys far crazier things have happened. You've gotten this far to one rung below the NFL. Like, it's certainly at this point not something that I think it's not the same as your middle school, high school, whoever, people being like, that's a crazy pipe dream. Mm-hmm. But, like, how long do you think you chase it, and what are your goals for the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm an how you do anything is how you do everything guy. So I'm not going to do anything, half-hearted. Like, anything I do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and I'm going to do it full go. I don't think for anybody in the XFL really is it a long-term career decision. I don't know anybody in that league is really trying to play in that league for, 10 or 15 years. I think most of us, it's something that you're like, all right, I can commit 100%, 3 to 4 years, maybe even less if your opportunity comes to this league. I'm going to give it everything I have while I can, and then, if I don't get my opportunity in that span, at least I can say I gave it everything I had. If I packed it up now, there's no way I could say that in 10 years that I gave it everything I had, because I had one training camp one training camp opportunity. It's just the way my career, at least in college, ended. It was something that was like, I can't go out like that. Like, I can't go out with, my hamstring and my knee and my health being the thing that ended my career. I got to battle as hard as I can to get back.
No, that makes sense because, even in basketball, you got I had the CBA and the D League. Now it's the G League, but the running joke is always you don't want to be a record holder in this league. Mm-hmm. You want to get in and get out as soon as you can and make the show.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, I think it's been an awesome interview, man, and I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your day to join us. So you're around until when's minicamp?
So there's no real mini camp or OTA stuff
or
for
training
the
camp.
XFL. Yeah, it just opens up a straight training camp, which I believe starts February 17th. First game will kick off March 30th. So
that's around the corner.
Yeah,
I feel like all 23,000 people in Wilmington are going to be following you. I know.
Hope so. Yeah,
I've been following from the time I heard 2 years ago, like, hey, this kid's legit getting. Mm-hmm. There's NFL like scouts at all of his games, so we're really excited to see where this goes, and hoping that you're able to climb up another rung by the time we see you back in Wilmington.
Yeah, definitely. Next time I'm here, it's hopefully in a totally different situation.
No, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming in. What would you tell the young fellas out there? I mean, I know you go and speak to them a lot every time you get a chance, but what would you tell them? What advice would you give them about adversity and fighting it?
I think, like I said, it's just about doing everything the right way. How you do anything is how you do everything. That was kind of my message the last time I went to speak to those kids is, if I can't trust you to, get your homework in on time or do the little things like that, pick up your trash when you leave the turf field, I can't trust you on fourth down in the Super Bowl. It's like I want, your care factor has to be that high. Whereas little things like that mean the world to you. That's when it's gonna make the world the difference is when how you do anything is to the highest of your ability and the highest standard possible. And then the second thing to those kids is just getting that weight room, man. That weight room will change your life. I'll tell you right now, I was not the best athlete in Wilmington until maybe 11th grade. Youth sports, I was always good, but I wasn't that guy that you were like, wow, that kid's going to play on Sundays. And then what I did that no one else did was I committed myself to it. I've probably been strength training at least 4 times a week for 10 years now. Right now I train 7 times a week. It really will make a huge difference. And I truly believe there are guys like I said, 48 years between me and the last guy that played in the NFL. There's no way that I am the best athlete in 48 years to go through Wilmington High School. There's no way in heck, right? There 100% has to have been a better athlete that walked through that doors. Just the difference between me and them is, right, I committed myself to something that they weren't willing to do. And that's something obviously I'm still doing because in my mind I haven't even come close to making it yet. But like I said, it's just having that standard for your product, whether everything it is.
That's awesome.
Awesome. that's one of the best quotes we've gotten on the show, man. To send us out, man, that was absolutely awesome. So I can attest to the weight room. I won't spit out my stuff here. I'm an old fat man at this point, but yeah, high school. I remember the difference between sophomore, junior, senior year. I went from, I think junior year I was like 5'7", 160 pounds. Senior year I was like 5'8", like 195 pounds, and was throwing around a lot of weight. And that was like 12 months of like being in there and being dedicated, and it makes a world of difference. So Tyler, thank you so much for joining us, and we're really wishing you good luck.
Appreciate you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.